Hey everybody, Maik Wiedenbach here, talking to you from home. Yeah, I do read books. Genetics. I'm often being asked, what's the story? Am I genetics good, bad for bodybuilding and so on and so forth? So I feel it's worth making a video. So first of all, when you talk about genetics, please get rid of the three somatotypes, the ecto, endo, and meso, because those were just very crude psychological profiles for people, nothing to do with training. Millions of people torture themselves, I'm an ectomorph, I can't do this, and then they don't do it. Thank God Frank Zane didn't get the email. So, genetics play a role, but they don't. We get to that. So, you can break it down into more or less 5 categories. One is how much muscle can you grow and how fast. So that depends on how many type 2 fibers you're having, the insertion. So, very sad case, my biceps, as you can see here, it's a high insertion. It will never be that big, no matter what I do. It's going to be okay, but it's just that. Then number 2 is how lean can you get, how easily can you drop body fat, or how little do you gain when you're bulking. So that is one of the things that you can't really change, but if you stay lean for a long period of time, you can get to a level where it's easier to keep it off. And then there is symmetry, which is basically your bone structure and also your insertion. Do you have small waist, broad shoulders, and so on and so forth. Again, insertions also play a role. That is number 2. Then there is recovery from training. So how quickly can you recoup and train again? I would even add pain tolerance and food control to that, even though those could also be learned behaviors. So those are the things that determine the genetics in this particular sport. Newsflash. Nobody has them all. Nobody, right? So you look at Arnold, he had a broad waist, which a lot of his poses actually twisted. Frank Zane obviously wasn't exactly a mass monster. Jay Cutler was, but he also was blocky, so he built up his shoulders. So what does that mean in real life? Okay, let me start from the top. So when people say, what's my genetic limit? It's like, I have no idea. But I do know that if you get close to it, you will look great. And then you have all these calculators that's like, oh, my wrist is this big, that my bicep can be only whatever, right? And it's like, okay, let's say that's true. But a 16-inch bicep, if that's your fun, or whatever the case may be, they can look very differently. Does it have a peak? Does it have a separation? And so on and so forth, right? You don't know that. So, then people, they drive themselves crazy. They go into crazy drug cycles and so on and so forth. And it's really not necessary. So there are some things you just have to accept. So in my case, I have these baby joints, right? I'm just not meant to lift heavy weights unless I'm going to get injured. That's just a fun fact. I don't have that many type 2B fibers. And like I said, my bone structure is not conducive for, let's say, big weights. So I train what would be called pump training, right? I just get high repetitions, make sure there's blood flow. I'm reasonably strong, but I'm not super strong. By the same token, if you tend to store body fat easily, you probably should go low carb for a little while, create better insulin sensitivity, and then work from there. If your symmetry, some shape or form is off, for instance, I have short legs, so they grow really quickly, and then but they look like an Oompa Loompa. Yes, there was a year, was it a year, 3 quarters, whatever, where I only did leg curls and leg extensions, just to keep my legs the same size and for my pitiful upper body to try to come up, right? Because otherwise I would have looked like, Tom Platz, he had great legs, but not much else, right? So I didn't want to be like that. I'm not saying I'm anywhere near Tom Platz, but you get the idea. If, let's say, you have a broad waist and nothing you can do except building up your shoulders. But you guys, in the end, genetics, it's like anybody can look really effing awesome at the beach. And that's our goal here, right? We are recreational bodybuilders. And there's no need to stress yourself out over something that you can't change, right? It's like the weather. Like today in New York City is gloomy, dreary. Nothing I can do. So genetics pretty much falls the same category. You can drive yourself nuts. Or you can say, okay, this is sort of what I've been given as my frame. And this is what I can do to optimize that, right? In the end, you train for yourself, right? You don't train for me, hopefully not for social media. It's like you want to look better, you want to look a certain way. And that can be accomplished, right? But stressing out adds cortisol, and that is bad for the muscles. My God.